a clinical defender side here, and a quick clap back from TSM to take the second map of Bind over court 13-7. And boys, welcome back to the desk. It definitely was a map where TSM looked so good on the defensive side, finally on their map pick of Bind, because back and forth we've seen, or throughout these weeks of where we've seen TSM come out to fight, they've always had very strong attacker sides with this composition because of how much pressure Deadlock could add into blocking these lanes. But they looked really good on defense off the gate.
Yeah, I think a huge part of this for TSM on defense was funneling people into that Deadlock util, which is not always a given that you're going to get value from it in some of these rounds. They really tried to make sure that when there was a fast hit, when they were anticipating that, the sonic sensors were laid down and there was always a grab net available. I don't know if the barrier really made a huge difference, but every other part of, Deadlock's kit got used there on defense. And yeah, not always easy to do, but this is the kind of map where Cake pointed out, like there's no mid, so you are pretty linear. You come from one of two directions on either side. So you can stack players to be long, set that util up, and then have a player look to follow up on it, of the players coming out of hookah. So it's something that we just saw repeated quite often from TSM to great effect. I also want to point out Sim had a great game. He and Gimon really locked it down.
I mean, Sim's had a great series so far. Even on the attacking side of Ascent, it wasn't the best for TSM, but Sim looked like the most in the server player for TSM's side. And I think just in general, the amount of homework TSM had brought out going into this last map was so good about controlling core at every single level of play, forcing them to rotate one position after another, and really using everything in their kit available to make sure core was forced no matter what to play TSM's game.
I agree. I think the type of homework that you just mentioned here, Keg, is something that's huge here for TSM. I think on just simple things where, when you're trying to add so much value into a Deadlock defense into your B side, and then usually you have these lurks from a Viper on A, the TSM just decided to double back up on a high-low stack just behind the staircase, anticipating a Ziff push through U-Haul, and immediately punishes him, which allows for the Rays to rotate over and have a strong side B. I think the read that they were having on a defensive side definitely looked a lot better, where they played with less chaos, if I could put it that way, for lack of a better word. Sure. They had good control of, or good understanding of where to be, how to fight, and then how to play these retakes on top of that. But even most importantly, I think their stall capability with the Proto is really good here, Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely. We sort of talked about how maybe Viper's role on Bind is less important, less impactful. Some teams still bringing her and others aren't. But, being able to buy just a couple of seconds of time, whether it's a grab net that's also, if it's thrown to interrupt a side hit, or just a wall that has to be blown up. We talked about on pistols, it's mega busted. But even outside of that, exposing yourself to sightlines because the wall is translucent, could be shot through while you're destroying it. It gives a huge advantage for the Deadlock's team to sort of play off of that there. So yeah, in lack of like a second controller, really lean into this double initiator setup, there's still a lot of good stall potential on this TSM comp.
And we've seen value of it too when grab nets are being thrown in combination with the orbital strike as well. Something that's not new, but something that has to be well synchronized for this type of composition if you want to add value in that stall and these type of trap plays. And we saw that value once when, we had Core trying to jump out of that hookah towards that B side, and they got swarmed by that the amount of util that came through the stall. So that was really well done. So TSM's able to fight back, although like a first map where it went back and forth here on both attack sides, and a Thrifty that unfortunately TSM suffered a loss to. They now have a chance to fight back and win the series here in this third map. But going back to how we introduced this series, gentlemen, we talked about it where Icebox, or just the map veto in itself, should still favor Core at this point. So I don't think that you should bring your hopes up too much here for TSM, Cake.
I agree, yes, but the thing about TSM on Icebox is that we don't know at all what they're going to bring. The last time they played this map was literally 3 months ago to the day.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, here's the problem. TSM's, best map became their must ban.
Yes.
So that means that your map pool is kind of effed, if I'm honest with you. Like, all of a sudden, you are going to have to play some maps that you do not prefer to play. It's one thing if, your best map gets banned out, and okay, they've used a ban on us, no worries, but TSM have to get rid of the map that was Breeze in the past, so they don't necessarily have like a map that they 100% want to go to outside of Bind necessarily, so they're going to have to be exploratory. They did have notice about this happening, this rotation, so that's why we're curious about their Icebox. in terms of what they've been working on, you know, in the interim, have they gotten this short up? Because a lot of teams are going to ban Lotus against these guys. And a lot of teams are also, there are a lot of teams that don't like playing split. We even saw MXS like ban that very same map as well. So TSM need to have another silver bullet in their map pool. Let's hope it's Icebox.
And hopefully it's going to be Icebox, right? You go from very hot and breeze being your best map to now potentially very cold if you want to work something there, because the only, like when Keg mentioned it before, the last time that they ran this was 3 months ago in March, but the composition that they ran was not really like off. They still went double controller, but they didn't add any agents that adds verticality. So they went no duelists. They had a Killjoy and double initiator, which is KO and Sova. That means that you don't have a Gecko plant either with the orbs that you can throw on the attack. So if they actually let this slip right now for Icebox, I'm hoping that we're seeing or at least a Sage in there, or at least a duelist in there, or something that adds value so that you can get verticality or plants. If not, this might be something that's going to look very scrappy. And we know on a map like Icebox, when it gets very scrappy, T-Dog and the rest of Core could look very good, just like we witnessed a few weeks ago against TTR. That said, TSM under Chaos, not that great. We've seen moments where, you know, they're not as coordinated on how they want to like double swing on these hectic moments. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a good game plan at least to start, so that they have that cushion to start with. Kick.
It's tough, right? Because when I think of Core, I do think about them getting into Icebox, winning that map, getting in from open quals all the way in the Challengers, right?
Yeah.
This has been a great map for the team, but we don't know what's going to be brought out from TSM. There's no reality where they don't bring a duelist here. They absolutely have to.
Well, we're going to find out right now because the agents are now ready. So we'll pass it back to you guys to close the series between Core and TSM.
A lot of questions about this Icebox for Core. Their last outing, they only won one attacking round against an M80 team that is already looking a little green around the gills, it's safe to say. And we actually have that zero verticality comp here for TSM. Sim is going to be on that Reyna, whereas unsurprisingly, it is going to be Zeldris' Jet.
I'll go back and look in a second, but I'm pretty sure TSM's comp is just the EG's Deadlock comp without Deadlock. They have the Reyna available. They have the Killjoy, which would take the place of the of the Deadlock, right? So they want to play a little bit more for information stall-based plays, but they still want to have Sim, who has just been electric this series, to pop off as that Reyna. So my expectation for this attack, very little lurking coming out from the team, although they have a big option to, and they're probably going to be all grouped up together and just take these executions somewhere to bind where they all play together.
This is a comp that both in Americas, both Leviathan and crew experimented with, albeit in double controller shells. So TSM using the double, are using the Gecko here in this kind of setup, but we've seen teams play the Reyna alongside like the Harbor Viper comp. So a little bit different here. Obviously, the Omen does give you some degree of verticality that Jet otherwise would have offered you. But so much about this says we're happy when we defend to fight on sites. And on offense, we are going to really get up in your face. The issue is, of course, is that TSM will be susceptible to retakes on A because they can't get up onto rafters easily without using a TP. Like, Reyna cannot fight up there typically.
I will say, though, the double flash from both Reyna and Gecko is severely underrated. We saw that so much in the early days of Challengers and Open Quals and find so much impact in group fights. Kind of like this.
Sim at the fort. I'm going to be checking this corner. No, of course. It's been around far too long. We're going to be able to cover up some of that damage taken there. Lear available, of course, would get Sim forward. He just finds Snarly through the smoke, and Core getting a little exposed here, trying to play so far forward. Wingman here will do his duty, and that molly is a little too deep.
Yeah. We're left alive now for these defenders, really playing off the timing of Ziff to make their way through mid. That Viper wall, it's going to be everything, though. Still one Lear available for Sim. Just using it off of contact, all the stall, making this pressure time so much more difficult for Core.
Here's that Lear. Finally gets fired off. Nerf spotted there at the back of the site. A Viper wall will be problematic for Core to contend with, although it is harder to keep up consistently now. Sim swung into a little bit of a light up there from the recon, but hey, no harm done. 3 players up for TSM here as the pistol is snatched away.
Yeah, very solid start from TSM. Textbook example of what you want to bring when it comes to a relatively aggressive comp with the Gecko and Reyna. However, though, Core, they've been a team that's been much quicker on adjustments, especially on their defensive side so far this series. I'm curious to see what they have in store for what they can expect now on, say, A site, if we see a similar push from TSM. But TSM, it looks like their timing is going to be very different this time around. They're opting to play more towards B once again, despite now Ziv having a much more aggressive presence with that turret. But this wall will be a really good opportunity for them to scale up just a little past that orb to bypass away from that turret.
Can they obscure themselves from the turret? They have to obviously move on to the far side of this container. They just take the turret out here. So very, very standard Viper wall. And an early push up for orb control for QOR on the B side. Snarly able to take that. And slowly we go. Here comes that wall. Sim here is the question is like, is he going to try and leer through this wall? Okay, so non-standard plant position there as well for the wingman. 7 able to find 2 though with a stinger. Kimond as well. Wants to surge into the back of the site here. TSM just throw down. They got better weapons here. They got a lot of space to work with. And it's all up to Snarly.
Yeah, at this point, Snarly just looking for exits. Anything to farm out Thrash as soon as humanly possible. Did like the stack up there from QOR despite the lesser weaponry. Tried to reflood Deathball their way back in directly on top of the spike. Did not work out well. TSM themselves, they over-aggressed. They knew they had the better weaponry. There it is. Second round now for TSM's favor. And both these teams have done their homework for their own map picks. They found ways to bypass and maneuver themselves around each individual sites, right? But again, TSM have not played this map in 3 months. What they have in store is going to be a complete unknown to us casters. And so if you're QOR right now, you're really relying on probably recent scrims to see what TSM have in store.
Yeah, I think TSM have really shown us anything overly special, right? They're leaning pretty heavily on the double flash that they have set up. Technically got a paranoia there as well. And it's just these like early pops here for QOR over on the A side. This time it's going to meet some resistance, but TSM are in no position to deny an orb take here from the defenders. So that's Snarly with 3 now. And again, that one way, to some degree circumvented by the Omen smoke that a Proto put down in the way. Is cancelled out essentially, and Sim gets to just raw pick that one. Nerve sees all that he has to. Gonna head down over towards the middle part of the map, and once more TSM can move up behind this wall.
This is good though. Safety wall in play. They extend beyond that with their flashes. A plethora of that too for TSM side. Good anti-flank too.
Well, they can also play past that Viper wall because they have an Omen smoke there to the smoke. Poised here. CT.com. So there's like multiple layers of like, you know, offensive smokes here to make use of. They're just kind of losing out in the middle part of the map. TSM.
We saw this a lot last week too, where defending teams, they'll take mid control, use that for the macro rotates, tell the team, hey, it's safe, you should be able to rotate. He-Dog Gong, he can micro the team a lot better here. And Proto falls. Really good statement for QOR to keep themselves competitive in this final map of the day.
Yeah, acceptable bonus. Acceptable bonus. I think TSM like can take 2 guns off of QOR. It's about where you want to be. Maybe you ideally want 3 there, but you know, such as this map that you can get so far up on that B side here, you can get a post plant scenario. So even when you don't have a lot of weaponry, even if you want to just do some damage, you can. And TSM are going to buy straight back into this with that Thrash already up. It's round 4, folks, and 7 is ready to rumble.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that A orb has been given for QOR to free just about every round now. They can try to continue cycling here. Maybe a minor conditioning factor from TSM's side that they may be able to swing and catch somebody out guard on top belt, but QOR, I'm sure they are ready for it, especially with Zeldris pushing up very aggressively.
Okay, him drop down. I don't know how Sim sees that first. That is pretty absurd. Okay, Snarly's down. He was looking for his 6th ult orb there. And he got the orb the last 3 rounds in a row. So TSM ready to punish that little play from QOR. And now they're just, wow, really rubbing it in that they already have the Thrash up, huh? That's brutal. But he cleared bottom side here. Sim can't get to rafters by conventional methods. Has to sort of, you know, strike jump over there. But TSM are going to get this post plant. And they have a Rainer stat with Empress available. It's going to be tough to break.
And we mentioned on the desk too, the verticality of taking A site will be a lot more difficult without a jet or a raise. You do have the Omen, you do have the rope to allow someone like Sim to take this upper level control a lot easier. So it takes more time. Slightly few more steps for someone like QOR to make that retake a bit more viable.
You just have no rafters control. You don't need it necessarily, but you just have to play accordingly. Maybe they would have wished they had it now because they just got absolutely smoked on this retake. 7 has to try and salvage. That was almost a grotesque spray transfer. Zeldris and Ziv both go quite low. Beautiful stuff for QOR. Not easy to make a retake like that happen.
Great timing too. off a nerve with this gigantic retake. Yeah, and they're already bringing out the red pings. Like, hey, okay, we gotta watch for mid now. A lot more movement's been made by QOR, a team that wasn't willing as much in the last 2 maps to go for these big, grandiose flanks. Looks like we do have a bit of a pause here.
That's fun. We'll take pause.
Yeah, hey, we can podcast it up. I mean, look, so far now, Sim, recent changes to Reyna, Empress now active, no longer a 30-second timer to wait it out. That means Sim can find a lot more value and bring out these ults a lot quicker than we traditionally see with Reyna, although we don't see her a lot in pro play, with her being brought out here.
Yeah, like I was saying before, we've seen both Kesnet and Aspas in recent memory try and make use of her on this map. I also think Sad or Winthrop used to play Reyna on this map. I mean, to be fair, Moobs played Reyna on Breeze at one point, so you know they'll do whatever. But
yeah, I mean, we could look as far back. I think like even Asuna, like year 1 of this game was bringing out Reyna, but it's just that the verticality and the amount of space you can create attacking wise on this map just shows that hey, you know, there's better options than bringing out Reyna, at least historically. But that's the benefit of bringing out Gecko, right? You unlock so much by having 2 sets of flashes now that technically aren't like traditional flashes. They're near sights and plasma blinds, right? But it allows your team to quickly run ahead of those flashes rather than being accidentally covered by them too and take full control in place of a jet.
we're going to play a disconnect, folks. So that's what we're waiting on for them to return to the server. The story so far has been a pretty close game. TSM obviously take their pistol away. And what we just witnessed was a full retake here. TSM with 5 players up, getting absolutely smoked. I think they take 4 casualties before they can actually fire back and get a trade. So, you know, again, with the comp that QOR know that is going to sit and sort of fight on the site, on the lower ground, you know, obviously with that Reyna not being able to climb up on the rafters, which is something, but if you want to see someone abuse that immensely, it's something QCK used to do a lot for Loud. Like he would just jump between the generator and the rafters there and just go back and forth constantly, cloud burst one way, the door, just making it impossible to get back in. TSM don't have a way to really block access through rafters at all. So they do need to deal with that and boilers simultaneously, which in a retake situation like we just saw can be difficult.
I mean, yeah, having Raptors controls can be tough here, but given their post-plant utility for their attack, they have so much they can dump by giving a little bit of space away to QOR. As long as they can protect that spike and, you know, dump Mosh, you have the nano swarms on top, it's a very tight win condition, but it's one that a lot of teams have grown accustomed to for the attack.
Absolutely. We've seen that quite often. And again, like a lot of the time, that's what the double controller comps have to contend with here. Like the Harbor Viper setups would sort of get the site, they get a post plan. And then if they're playing into like flash initiators, they know like there's going to be a pretty heavy retake. It's going to get, you know, complex to fighting, especially if it's like a Gecko-based composition that they would have to deal with, especially KO in the mix. Some teams going without a duelist in order to have double controller, double initiator, like your M80s of the world. But here we go. It's 2 apiece here. We are back with TSM on the attacking side.
Well, speaking of M80 QOR have done their homework since they last lost this map just under a week ago to M80. They only got 1 attacking round in their favor here. They won 7 defense rounds. Should be a much better side for them. Good for Zeldris. That's huge. A double opening pick. Those 2 flashes are completely gone.
Finding the Reyna so early and getting rid of the Gecko is big. It also means there's an opportunity for Seven to keep those orbs coming in. Speaking of which, Snarly has that Thrash available, but just spinning him around like this. Ziff is exploiting the curve of that Omen smoke. 3 comfortable kills on this anti-eco look from TSM. They did actually bring a proper rifle in here, so where's their economy at? It's enough to full buy here. That's fine. Another lockdown to start to become a thing worth discussing.
Timeout now from TSM. Really have to divide and conquer out how they want to play this early round. It's been the most difficult part for them. Zeldris not having to worry about, at least just, like an operator's presence, is able to take so much free space inside mid and catch people off guard, even without himself having the op. But honestly speaking, pretty soon, last week, Zeldris having a struggling time to go up against Koala Noob's operator. Don't have to worry about that this time around.
Yeah, again, we probably won't see too many of those brought into the game. Also worth pointing out that, you know, there isn't like an easy, a super easy way of dealing with lockdowns on the side of TSM.
That's true.
You know, not a lot of that sort of indirect damage. You can bank a molly, you know, the mosh pit or the snake bite case, but you don't have like Hunter's Fury or paint shells or anything like that like that to deal with it. So they're, I say they're relevant now because that's just come up, I think, for Ziff, and I think Poised is 1 or 2 orbs away from that. So when we're talking retakes for core, as they're often electing to play, at least they did on that A site, it's going to be non-negligible of a factor to consider.
Yeah, I mean, bouncing off of that too, Nerve having one off Viper's Pit. A lot of rotates are going to be happening from TSM's side as soon as those ults start to come through. If you're TSM, one big win condition you could have is trying to bait out those ults early, make core panic. They haven't panicked the whole out of their ults this series, except for maybe some Hunter's Furies. It's not going to be online just yet for T-Dog. It's already been used up last round. But this default's good. They're able to have a presence on both lanes now with that Reyna and Gecko. Nothing found just yet, or are more willing to give up B site than they are A. They've had close retakes before. Nerve is one off again from getting that ult.
The Viper Wall basically forces you into the retake. It's just very effective at covering everything unless you are harebrained enough to swing it. Here's the Empress. They'll just says, you know what? I'm good. I am good. I'm waiting for the retake here. Dizzy there. For 7 makes a bit more space. Pinging the smoke here wants to double swing out of it towards Snowman. There is a double stack of plays here for Core right at the back of the map though. And Sim gets caught out inside Empress, no less. That was Ziff there through mid, late reflank. We are going to have simultaneous lockdowns here. And Gimond and 7. They win out there as they push over towards Snowman. Core absolutely falling apart at the seams here. No one, actually it might be, no one yet caught inside those lockdowns. Okay, they go for nothing. Now Ziff and T-Dog have got to put it together. 7, 8's ahead of the Molly. Takes a little bit of damage, but T-Dog has no chance to defuse. They're out of here. Core have to give this round up.
At TSM, they're finding so much value taking early space against B site. Even that distraction factor, keeping defenders on A for the double push, has been so strong, delaying these rotates from Core. That delay allows players like Sim and the Gecko to push beyond the site itself into that small crevice between kitchen and ropes. And that has been their protocol. Take site control, get past the wall, flash into it, make sure you have this very big stranglehold for anyone rotating either in from kitchen, Snowman, or even mid. That is one area that Core should not be willing to give up anymore. Every time TSM have gotten there, it's been a definitive win. Sure, it's been a little close, but a win nonetheless.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, like, it's 2 layers. Like I said, the Viper Wall is there, and then there's an Omen Smoke at Snowman. The problem is that you can't see the mid-reef flank as attackers. When the Viper Wall comes down, you can get shot by, like, their KJ or something like that. Yeah. That's happened, like, a couple of times. But in general, like, you just... you either play forward like you are this round with Zeldris at yellow, or you just play for retake and hope that you can sort of outdo your opponents, even against that Reyna Leah, which midway through a retake can just ruin you.
But Mitch, look at this. T-Dog brought out the Owl Drone, did not spot a Proto, waiting for the anti-lurk outside the tunnel.
But that's just how busted that turret spot is at Boiler. It's so good. A Proto has a great spot there, but, you know, gets lit by the turret, has to get out, then gets spotted by the recon. So, inanimate objects kind of winning out in that battle. And here comes the Leah onto the site, just straight through the Viper Wall. Again, you can't do anything about this, you know, Raptors presence. So there's 2 players already set up there. Sim is very active.
Spike planted. Thanks, Wings.
That's right. Now again, we talked about how this could be a struggle for TSM in the post plant, not having that Raptors control. A lot of post plant utility though in the favor of TSM delaying the spike plant to boost. Sim able to reposition them with the dismiss. Gimon is going to have a great timing here. It's astonishing. They're not ready for it at all. And now Zeldris with the operators about to give that one up to burn offering to whatever god is chastising Core, having lost 2 rounds in a row. Clean hit and post plant from TSM. Yeah, clean rounds off of the hands of that timeout TSM had brought in. Timing looking a lot more better. Big plan in mind about how they want to execute around from the very beginning. The spacing has been looking good. How they want to divide out these rounds, especially the mid presence, has been so good. Hasn't been a lot of work necessarily from TSM's side. They're usually in squads of 2 or 3. And they split push and converge together for these plants. Poison Orb's out now from mid. Great lineup. Normally we see that outside A main. Good proactive plays though from Core. Oh, but the instant trade.
Yeah, no gun recovery either. I think Ziff was hoping for a little bit more. Maybe just expecting it to be a loose end Jet player. Or rather a Reyna. TSM now showing an inclination here to end B. They have that Killjoy U2 ready for the flank. Eventually, that's going to have to be picked up by Poised. Yeah, now it's removed. So they commit. They are ending B. Viper Wall comes up here. Plant already down, care of Wingman. And now we take these post-plant setups. But they have not scaled into Snowman at all. T-Dog will be able to make his way up here. But there are so many angles he needs to account for. And alone, it's just not feasible.
Yeah, the buys are not looking great for Snarly and Co. either. Losing the one Vandal invested into that round. It's dire straits right now for Core on this defense. This was their better side going up against M80. TSM surely have watched into this to see how they generally play, especially these retakes on B site. They're really calling Core's bluff the majority of these rounds. They take these opening fights regardless where Core is placed, and they still take that site control. They are not willing to back up and give any chance for Core to take back space. They're taking fights directly to them.
They've also conditioned Core not to expect early action on A. Core constantly, like,
That's true.
You know, sending Zeldris across the zip, trying to make sure they get ult orbs in Snarly's hands, and TSM are just not opting into that. They're not engaging those early fights. Proto on top of Tube here. Zeldris,
Oh no.
I mean, to call this audacious would be an understatement, but he's going to miss all of this action. Okay, here's something at the very least. Now they realize just how far up mid they are. Zeldris has the opportunity here. Yeah, the advantage of surprise. Snarly here waiting out by Boiler.
One enemy
TSM
remaining.
got past them though and can wrap around towards the rafter side. They eventually get brought down as help comes in from Kitchen.
I mean, this is such tough timing for the mid push here from Core's end. That one owl drone from T-Dog has to be everything. We saw a Proto a few rounds before play that same exact upper tunnel angle, waiting for someone to push out, and had his timing just waited like an extra second or so, he either would have been spotted out by that owl drone, or he would have taken down Zeldris, and could have been a very different round for the attacking team. But as you mentioned, that conditioning, don't expect anything too fast from A side early round. Zeldris still remains with the operator though. This could be a good start here. As long as though, you're gonna say if there's no early flash, it's not gonna stop Zeldris though. This opening pick could be everything. Not allow space creation from TSM's end. Taking an opening pick down against either Seven or Sim would be huge to delay flashes for the post-tank play.
How much is the Aldrin going to tell you here?
Not
very
much.
little.
I have a feeling T-Dog's going to go for Hunter's Fury here. It's too slow and there's no contact B, let alone mid.
Okay. Zeldris can't even really inflict any damage there. Plant was interrupted at the very least though, so there's that Hunter's Fury. Viper's Pit here thrown in the screen's direction. Smoke also covering rafters here, and it's the only viable point of entry. Zeldris missed an opportunity to clip Sim there, but the window was far too small. And now we wait. We sit and stew inside the Viper's Pit. It's TSM. You can see the attempt here to scout it out. He has no idea where TSM is set up on this side. Dismiss allows Sim to continue to reposition. Use both charges on the dismisses, and there it is. Looks like for a moment, Nerve was stuck inside some kind of primordial jelly. Yeah. Sim is alive still. TSM can spray down. It's going to be Seven finding Nerve. And Zeldris is going to try and salvage this weapon. Just gets away.
If Sim had one more bullet before he had to reload, this would have been a lost operator for Zeldris. Yeah, the chase through. Sim's going to get revenge. Oh, maybe not. But even then, Viper's Pit played so perfectly, delaying out any screens push made it very awkward for Zeldris to find impact with that op in the late round. Was still good to find one, sure, but as long as you can deny the effectiveness of this long-range weapon, it's going to make, things a lot more difficult for Core.
Yeah, money's bad. Money's very bad here for Core. And
that too.
I think they need to figure out how they're going to work around the ultimates they've been able to generate. T-Dog obviously used the Hunter's Fury before the Viper's Pit came down, or about the same time.
Before. He tried to do anti-entry with it.
Holding it a couple seconds later. It could have been a very different story there. Again, I think it interrupted the Wingman plant, so you can see what the idea was there, but then the Viper's Pit was in their way. There was an Omen smoke over towards Heaven. TSM really had it covered up. And then Sim's able to just play from 410. He just transitions between those high ground buildings. Crow's Nest 410, he just dismisses in between them with each kill. And now he has Empress in this next round, so that playstyle is even scarier because you don't know when the heck she's going to pop up.
Wait a minute. Is this Core's second timeout?
That may well be, actually.
Not a good sign.
10 rounds in, it's definitely on the early side.
No, not even. Having 2 timeouts on the same half, you never see teams win after that. That's scary.
Here.
And it's not as if they're trying to orchestrate like around with a lot of ultimates here either. They're going. They must be looking for something a little set. Okay, so
Yeah.
fair enough.
Trying to
Smoke to the
funnel,
top of 410.
trying to funnel TSM back over to B side. They're expecting this to be a big beacon for lack of ults.
Empress pops.
Oh yeah!
Global
Monster
way.
on the loose!
Guess
So this
I'm
can be
calling the
scouted
bluff.
out to some degree. Yeah, no one's playing on the ground though. It's all high ground. Zeldris able to take a shot there from screens. That's good. We also have a detain on the side though. It's Zeldris caught out. And don't know where he is. Gimon's able to push into him. There is a Dizzy to follow it up though. And Nurse doing a lot of work here through that Viper's Pit, but it's going to come down now. Damage is already done though. Core. Fine, such an important round. And yeah, we'll have to ask ourselves the question whether it was worth a timeout for. 5 defensive rounds to work with now, heading into the last of the half, and at least a little bit to work with weaponry-wise.
I mean, look, the coaches and T-Dog had to have things bound together if they want to use 2 in 1 half. Their attacking side has been traditionally weaker on Icebox than their defense, and they won't be able to talk to their coach anymore if that's the case. They'll have to be on their own. And look at this now. Ultimate's not really available now from TSM. You would think, again, you would stack up utility for Core's end on B, knowing full well that traditionally, without those ults, this is where TSM like to go. Though it just has that anti-rotate. I like this play.
Scatter.
Info found back yellow.
All right, good opener here for Sim. And they're going to move ahead of... Okay. Yep, just a nice little headshot straight through the wall there. Sim does very, very well to take Core down to 3 players. They do have Zeldris to work with, the operator in hand. A late reflank potential, but look at this spot from Poised. Sim's ready for it at the very least here, but that puts pressure on the defenders now. They can't reliably use this flanking route in a retake scenario. But Sim just doesn't miss. That's 3 in the round.
All 1v1s. No trades.
Well, that's good for Rainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Enemy remaining.
Excuse me! Not legal! Straight to jail! Zeldris good for 2, but man, homie's gonna run out of knives at this rate. The TSM are waiting for him as he rounds the corner at yellow. 7 rounds on the attacking side for TSM. Highly respectable total.
Absolutely. Look, for TSM again, we haven't seen them play too much. We weren't sure what to expect going into this matchup. Looking fantastic on this attack. And now, on the defense, Sim is not bound to any utility. Sim can effectively play wherever they want, similar to a Jet. They don't have that verticality. But Sim's rifling has been on point this entire series. They could just go and mow people down anywhere they want start of round. That is a scary prospect of your core.
All right, this pistol
This is
will
everything.
really give us a chance to, see which way the wind's blowing, I think. Core obviously failing to win the pistol at the start of this round. Still had a really good, after that first buy, had a nice little 3 rounds that they were able to string together. But Sim definitely starting to run roughshod over them here. And on defense, he can do that even more so because he's already entrenched on that A site and just plays off a Lear timing.
Poison's
No
off.
info for backside. Recon bolt used
Toxins going up.
on B main, not even back yellow. Possible lurk here off of Nerve could be beneficial towards the end, but this is such a slow approach for a pistol.
Selling the B hit, but it doesn't work because a Proto is positioned in front of the Viper wall keg.
Yeah.
They know it's a fake.
This flash timing's everything too. Audio heard. Matter now
Oh,
of someone
yes.
grabbing that orb and the Dizzy remerges.
The model of Gecko just waiting to send Dizzy here is crazy. All right. But it's interesting to take the fight here because Sim actually can't be involved whatsoever. He's waiting for someone to push up. They don't. Still, Gimon able to win it out there, find those 2 kills after there was a trade.
Toxins going up.
So A-Site 1 for the defenders.
Yeah, I mean, already a distinct body advantage here. No real flashes for the post plan. Very little utility at that.
30
Single
seconds left.
nanoswarm to hold the spike. 2 shock bolts, sure. You can just throw bodies at core at this point, realistically.
Yep. Your Rainer is full health and has Devour and Dismiss. So just run it down. Have an eye. You have the paranoia here.
That's 1. That's 2 util.
All right, take the fight yellow. Sim wins it out. Able to heal up. That's huge.
Enemy remaining.
Full channel of that Devour. Now it's just T-Dog with a shock dart. It's not to be. TSM now find their 8th round. And again, just continue that momentum. Picking up where they left off in the first half. And that's pretty tough for Core. They're going to be staring down a potential 5 to 10 scoreline.
You're absolutely right. Now the buys snowballing against them potentially will be devastating. Core, they We've seen them force buy before. I don't think that's necessarily the answer here, but Zeldris is going to maintain that Marshall. Yeah, you have to find maximum impact with it. You won't be able to dash in with your team. This should be a round for Core now to play for picks. 3 sheriffs to work with now. Defaulting out, waiting for the overextension of TSM. I mean, you're really just looking to hunt down Sim. You don't know that he has a Vandal just yet, but you can take an educated guess.
All right, Zeldris
Here.
knows that no one is pushed too far forward, not towards 410 or pipes because of that recon. Sim is not going to be drawn out of position so easily. Decent sell, though. TSM look like they're chomping at the bit to take a fight over it, but there'll be no contact. Everybody looks like they're going for a high-pace hit onto this side. Again, a Proto wants to play ahead of this Viper wall. They showed us that in the last couple of rounds. Might be a high-low swing, though. That'll be tough to deal with. He doesn't have a chance to make use of this Outlaw yet.
Yeah. Viper
He
toxins,
smoked him
though.
off.
It could be so much harder to uplift that wall again. A Proto. Look at the shields coming out from Core. These are potential one-shots across the board with that Outlaw.
There's so much stall, Keg. I mean, that smoke thrown by a Proto stops Core in their tracks. And then there's Killjoy util on the plant location. It's getting cleared now. So the Viper wall does get renewed. And there's no plant. It's interrupted once more. And Proto finally finds one. Patience pays dividends. And that swing there from Zeldris gives the game away. Core now running with 2 players. And Snarly apparently not getting blinded out there by Dizzy. I'm not sure how. There's so much stall there for TSM with their double controller setup. It makes it really hard to just hit that side with nothing but a Viper wall.
Hey, look, double controller, nearly double the rounds now TSM have. And remember, Core, the timeouts aren't really available for them this half. They're all by themselves here. Have to figure it out on their own.
I mean, I don't know how much of a timeout you need to say, like, hey, guys, we need to win this bonus round. We need to beat them on their bonus, rather. They have an Outlaw. Let's buy armor.
Yeah,
There's 4 half armors.
Look, Mitch, this is the most important round in this series. If Core can't convert this very distinct overbuy compared to TSM, this series is over for them.
Sim's gone for a variation in positioning here, though. And Aldron does not catch it. He got that for free. And the leader follow up. He could have dismissed away if he had to. A Proto also had that long line here with the Outlaw. Bam. Good for one. Zip down. Gimon is going to be silenced here, and there's still more pressure coming from this direction. I don't think, a Proto doesn't see that high angle, so the Outlaw eventually knocked loose. But on this bonus, you've taken 3 guns away already. Snarly able to get a Vandal at the very least here, but TSM are happy with this. They have done significant economic damage. There's no Viper to bring this wall back up, by the way, so a swing by Poised from Snowman could be good for at least 1.
Spike planted. 1 enemy remaining.
1v1.
And a gun to pick up here too, unless Snarly can get in position to stop it.
Turret.
All right. Core get fortunate there, at least keeping 1 gun into the next round, but it's far from a sure thing, and they're far from stabilized.
No. Even then, the economics now for Core not looking good. That still might be a nail in the coffin for them. They don't lose the round, sure, but keeping 1 Vandal away, they did get the spike down, which is good. More money in their pockets. Light shields across the board, though. And with how hairy that early first 30 seconds was of going up against Sim was, I don't have the most confidence in these light shield plays.
Yeah, feels risky. Core definitely just buying the most powerful weapons they can and hoping they can make it work. Alt watch here. Getting close to Viper's Pit for Gimond, who's had a pretty busy start to this half. Snarly 1 orb away from a Thrash.
No fuel.
Snarly could get close. May not even need that orb. The plant itself could be enough. But getting to that site might be very difficult. Gimon 2 off Viper's Pit. A litany of KJ utility all over the place. It's a great read about where they think Core might attack into next.
For all intents and purposes, confirmed here by Poised, who sees the Aldrone. Gimon here with some stall utility. Locked and loaded.
Toxin screen down.
That wall's about to drop and will be replaced by a Omen smoke. There's the second wave of Dizzy. He sees nothing either. Zeldris has managed to get across here. Mindful, KJ util alarm bot goes off here. He can gain Rafters control, but not necessary at this time. Can play around the Viper wall at 410. TSM will look to flood in here. They say, you don't take Rafters, we'll do it ourselves. And now they're here with a defuse. There has to be a swing on this. Wingman is doing so much work. generating a heck of a lot of pressure. They get it to half already, and now they're in a 2 versus 2. They've got more health. They've got a smoke even for a Proto.
One enemy.
Another 1 versus 1. Poised v Zeldris. Making all the noise and Poised. Get out of here.
Unbelievable. Starly, though, for better or worse, does have Thrash available into this next round. We could see another faster A plant again. Good lord, these gunfights, the positioning from TSM has just been on point. QOR find themselves tunnel visioning so much to the backside control, looking to play off of each other, but the trades have not necessarily been there. 6-10, a save. Zeldris may be able to invest just a teeny tiny bit for the team, but no. 1,300 credits left. Full shields, Bladestorm, the best they can do. And they have to go for A again. Closed and condensed. B-side's no place for pistols.
TSM are about to hit a critical mass of ultimates too.
I know.
If they can just eco farm this round, they'll have all of them. Every one of them.
Oh, jeez.
And that would mean them and they'd be 2 rounds away from victory as well. Okay, I mean, QOR, the deck is stacked against them.
Oh yeah! Monster on the loose!
Here it is, Thrash. Zeldris follow it up here. Tailwind, a little bit of a hole in that wall. It's going to be a trade. T-Dog goes down as he tries to push onto the side itself. Zeldris will have to be satisfied with just the 1-for-1. Unclear if he spots Sim, who now is under the effect of Empress. A fearsome foe to challenge now. And we'll see TSM start to converge here. 1 player through Boiler. Might be an overload again here through Rafters. Once more as QOR have elected not to try and take that position up. Oh, Sim doesn't care. He runs headlong into Starly. Just has a numerical advantage with his Empress active and still has the use of all those abilities. Finding Nerf here would be, yeah, that would have to be the death knell. Able to reposition, Zeldris chases, but it's all Reyna all the time. Always was. And Zip has nowhere to go. The defuse complete. TSM get yet another round. And now Poised has a lockdown into the next 2.
The litany of ultimates. Look, if you're QOR, your best fleeting hope was that maybe they'd overuse their ults in the retake here, but no. TSM, the confidence is fully high. The Empress was enough. Secure the 4K. Very little tradability. Even though against Arena, it's very difficult to have happen anyways with the invisibility and the dismiss. A timeout from QOR. So it wasn't their second one. Okay. I see. That's good. That's really, really good for the team now. They have an extra chance to talk to their coach now and say, okay, what do we do to keep this series alive? That's going to be so difficult. 6-11. The buys shaky at best now. They just came off of a save and it wasn't looking good. And as you mentioned, Mitch, a litany of ults now TSM have in their favor. Gonna be tough. You go A site, you may have a better chance in the 1-to-1 fights, but then you have to worry about all the ults that can squash you down. Whereas the B takes have been a little bit more shaky. It may be an opportunity to get away from those ults much quicker.
We'll have to really have to put this together. So far, not so bad, right? They're using their Viper Wall in a very standard fashion to gain purchase on that side. They even chase their Thrash in, right? Zeldris goes ahead of it, able to find at least 1 kill. But T-Dog elsewhere, like off screen, has also pushed into Crow's Nest, I think, and lost out. So the defenders already get themselves a trade of sorts. And maybe it's like not enough, like pre-plant util to guarantee that position. T-Dog maybe just playing aggressively for a stronger position. Either way, now they have to do it against a pretty overwhelming ultimate advantage where the defenders have a Thrash to play off of, plus a lockdown.
And T-Dog's going to be very careful too. He's the IGL. You don't necessarily want to go down immediately. Could be able to help control your team a little bit more once you do fall. Could be explaining the aggression, but even then, you really don't want to expend any bodies when you're down 6-11 this series.
Back to me.
Snarly able to refresh that utility here. TSM have made the correct decision. Congregating here around the B site. We may see initially Sim play ahead of this Viper Wall. And a stalling smoke deployed now by a Proto.
Great audio.
Thrash going in. Chase the Thrash in. Sees very little. Oh, he doesn't see on top of yellow. Sim doesn't realize it. Just see the boot of Zeldris there at the top of his vision. The blunt object now for TSM. Off the table. 4 players here.
You should
Call
run.
cut noise.
Proto can reposition off of his ult. Go for the flank potentially.
There's no way. They're staying here. 100%.
30 seconds left.
They got the Reyna down. More of that stalling util deployed though by the defenders. They play outside. They respect the lockdown. And they aren't able to interrupt the plant. Decent timing on this, Max.
Yeah, this is really good. Now keep an eye on Nerve. Nerve can unlock this whole round with this anti-flank.
T-Dog moves up here. Lockdown gets destroyed. He's able to spray it down. Nerve with the late reflank. You called it. And Core secure themselves such a crucial round, just as TSM looked like they were poised to send them packing.
Just, you know, from the front.
Yeah, I mean, look, all those ults used. You couldn't have asked for a better round from Core's end. Come on now. Viper's Pit potentially available. On a save like this, it's hard to say. Depends if TSM really want to close this out or not. They're still playing with fire themselves. They're not out of the woods just yet. It was looking dominant before, but now a 4-point differential is not the most amount you could ask for. They have to start playing much more carefully now. Sim needs to value their life so much more. But it's also a save round. They can do it after this.
Yeah, again, all of these rounds have been close. TSM down to like 1 or 2 players. So their economy slowly has been getting downsized.
Spike down.
Sim will take the kill and be happy with it. Swings again. Why not? Go for it. Gimon is going to be there. A drifting? Surely not. Not at this point of the game. You cannot afford it if you're Core. The Proto has to back away now. Has a stalling smoke. Going to deploy it straight away. And to step inside it. Zeldris, though, is ready for it this time around. It will be poised. 2 guns taken away for the attackers here. Just as Core really wanted to get themselves settled, but Zip and Nerve have a decent bit of money to work with already. Okay, Core put 2 rounds together. The climb begins.
Now, TSM again. That gap is closing. They have to worry about their money now. Again, I'm eyeing that Viper's Pit. I'm expecting it to come out this round. Where? That's a great question to ask. Proto now, operator in their own play.
Turret out.
Zeldris was finding so much struggle last time they played Icebox in M80. Again, they were going up against Koala Noob, who debatably the best operator player inside Challengers. A Proto, though, pretty remarkable in their own right. May not be able to shut down Zeldris nearly as much.
Nothing spotted there through mid for a Proto. Sim's pushed up so far.
Oh,
And that
Sim.
opportunity goes begging, but look at this. God, he doesn't give up. He's relentless.
Sim is taking
he's
years off of my life.
He could catch a time. He just somehow knows. He knows, man. It's such an odd play to make, but he knows that there's no map control for the attackers there. That's it. Multiple rounds in a row. Sim's been shut down, trying to just go for that little inch more.
That's what else can you do as the Reyna, right? Like you're so ingrained in wanting to push and push and push and take in as much as you can. But you're right, Sim is getting overly greedy now, setting themselves up for now TSM being 4-5, with the round barely starting. There's still a minute left.
Viper's bid up for Gimon. Same for Nerve here. So Core can secure a safer post-plant scenario. The risk is getting up there with Wingman to make use of that ultimate.
Here.
They're waiting, of course, for their fuel to regenerate. Or also have a player to answer a reflank
30 seconds left.
from mid. Or to put one together of their own. Poison Orb here has to be respected. So much stall from this double controller composition. And 7 Seasons Snarly dive into the fog. Meets him with a headshot. No spike down. 16 seconds left on the round. This has to happen here. And it's just 7. Eventually snuffed out. Zeldris finds 4 in the round. And Core, life in them still. They are putting these rounds together.
Scary endeavor now. Now TSM, they have 1 timeout available. If they use that though, Core get the chance to talk it. Oh no. Reinforce exactly what they've been doing. Big condition, you mentioned it yourself, Sim, overextending early rounds, something that needs to be corrected. B site though, very difficult for TSM to maintain.
How many kills around has Zeldris had this half? It's something disgusting. Oh man, it's 27 and 13. We thought Sim was running away with it. Yeah.
Already has 10 more kills than they did the last time when they faced M80 on this map. This is a complete turnaround for the player.
Yeah, they've looked really, really good. I mean, 4K in that previous round, bailing out Core in a number of these last few rounds where TSM had looked, excuse the pun, poised to take the map away like 13-6.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's okay, I'll let you have that one.
It's not shoehorned, you know. It's probably not a better word than that.
I feel like shoehorn would work.
Poise. I feel like poise is the best word for that assignment.
Setup.
Hardly feels like it's intentional, really. It's only because I call it out.
It's okay. I liked it. Keg seal of approval. Oh, what is this from TSM now? A stack up towards A, expecting a big difference from QOR this time around, and maybe right. Oh, QOR, they nearly walked away from this gamble, start of round to go back to B. But they want to change it up themselves, expecting a stack up on B side from TSM's defense.
Awkward buy here, though. I will point out the strongest gun for TSM is on this side. Demand! Okay, Snarly, not too shabby at all there. 7 only left with that sheriff in hand. And apparently the tower wasn't big enough for he and T-Dog. Now Viper's Pit in a post plant. Very much easy to put together on A for QOR. And Poison and Proto have no opportunity to upgrade their guns. They're all left in a heap across the map.
I've dropped the spike.
Paranoid doesn't connect necessarily. It does against one. That's T-Dog. Safe for the plant.
Doesn't stop the plant. He is full faith in his teammates. All right, another quick one in for QOR. TSM have lost control of this game well and truly. And QOR will be buying for the rest of the game.
The patience has been unbelievable from QOR now. Facing a failure, essentially, out of this series. They're bringing it back now, a 1-point differential. Double Viper's Pit available. Double Thrash available. A mirror comp, essentially, from both teams now in their arsenal. T-Dog is close to getting their own Hunter's Fury, and Zip not too far off lockdown. All of these ults have to be played picture perfect for QOR if they want to tie up this game. Pushing A site. Surely now we're going to see an early Snarly ult with Thrash. Has to benefit and help Zeldris with this entry.
They're just hoping for one of the defenders here to try and gain info with a low 410 peak.
Okay.
Saw you, little homie.
All right, here we go. Thrash. Gonna be checking under rafters. TSM playing full retake here. No side presence whatsoever. Gonna be leaning on those flashes so heavily, but Sim sees an opportunity. Zeldris is overextended a bit, and now it's time for Empress. Thrash here from the defenders, forcing all of them back. The clock starts to tick down. Sim, oh my goodness, more than happy to push straight through that wall. Straight through that pit. QOR can't use the Viper's Pit, not with Sim on the other side of it here.
Spike did not go down. Still divided up by that wall.
45 seconds.
No
Sim's still
time
an
to
Empress. It's about to get very, very messy.
Fake wingman.
Easily done. Sim finds one. That's going to have to be enough for now. 7 now from Rafters. Spray through the paranoia is able to find one. And that's all TSM need. 1 for 1 from here on out. They'll be sorted. They'll have put a stop to QOR's reign of terror. And T-Dog, despite how imposing his tower of Dr. Pepper is, has no choice but to walk away and seek shelter under its eaves.
Limping away from this round now.
10
QOR
seconds
have
left.
to play into overtime if they want to have a chance to win this series.
Someone pep my boy up. Get him a fresh can.
He's got to get that sugar spice and everything nice now. QOR still get the plant down, but it's far too late. At least a little bit more money in their pockets.
Match point.
Still for TSM, their economy was so bad. So bad. They're finally able to get a decent gun round. And they've got 4 units of armor here picked up. Ultimate's not particularly compelling. T-Dog can strike a mortal blow here with a nice Hunter's Fury. Last time we saw it, it was premature. On an A side hit on the first half.
Oh.
Didn't do much to interrupt TSM.
But the Mitch, they're going to entry with that ult again. He uses them so early on. He's going to use that to benefit Zeldris spacing in.
Zeldris, 0 frags in the last 2 rounds.
Operator 2.
Our drone here will threaten 7. Allows Zeldris to post up. He just sees a pixel, man. That's more than enough. Zeldris takes full advantage. The only player that was close to an ultimate for TSM is down.
No smokes available outside of GMD. Could very well see some repositional value, maybe, but you would have had Omen ult. You go into the back line, so you can't have that anymore. A minute left on the clock, and again, remember, your entry, Duelist, swapping away now the Operator back to a Vandal.
TSM have had to hedge. The noise cut here for QOR has kept Poise and Gimon over at B. I have no idea what's about to happen towards A. It'll be TSM forced into a... Well, I was going to say full retake, but they've scaled back into the site defensively behind this wall. They're going to swing it together. There's no high ground position right now for Zeldris. They could at least find a trade here.
Fake wingman. They're baiting it back over to B, but look at all the KJ utility right on default and yellow.
Okay, really, it's all about Gimon here. Needs to demonstrate some serious composure. Show him GMD's frags, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Nerve loses here. Zeldris! Oh no! Dashes into the hail of bullets. Can he find another one? The flash was good, but
13
Farley's
seconds.
able to shrug it off.
10 seconds.
10 seconds left.
Sim in a position here to
Player
pounce.
standing.
Ziff trying to ward him off. The plant? It's got to come in now or never. And Sim can't interrupt. Core, stay in it. And TSM now, oh my goodness, not a lot of money to work with at all. Not a lot. Barely 2 shackles to rub together.
Uber, we've come full circle. Core playing slow and meticulous, just like they did back on Ascent at the beginning of this series. Slowly
See this one
flying
here.
away.
Look, this player is flash. It's a paranoia, yeah. Wow, that was fortunate. Core, I mean, Snarly, despite being flashed, is able to find that kill, allowing Gimon to have 3 there. It would be curtains for you, surely. Now, though, TSM, it's a hobbled together purchase. Stinger for 7, Sheriff for a Proto. I mean, that may as well be a Vandal in his hands, but still.
There's my buddy.
Proto does have from the shadows to work with there. Could go for that flank once more. They use it for information mostly, especially on B-side plays. Last time they were forced to use that ult, it was the double KJ lockdown. Now Ziff does have one to work with here. Could use that amidst the chaos.
At what point does Sim decide that Core are committed here? About now, apparently. Hunter's Fury being fired off. Nothing found as a result of it. Instead of getting value out of that Stinger. It's a 2-for-2 trade. T-Dog finally connects with a Proto, though. No plant. Still no plant.
You should run.
And the spike is out in the open. Got to be a lockdown here for Core. Trying to clear the site, clear the space, allow them to scoop in and recover the spike.
I have the spike.
But Sim gets nervous. He backs up. Now a player advantage achieved for TSM. Mosh pit. T-Dog able to get ahead of it just in time, trying to play ahead of Sim, and he predicts it well. He's even up the numbers, and Poise only has a Stinger to work with, so he swings at the same time as 7.
1v1.
1 versus 1. 5 HP, Cake 5. 7 has a wingman. Unbelievable. He wins the fight out. Doesn't even have to go for that util. 5 points of health, and TSM shut Core down. Take the series away. It doesn't get much closer than that.
Wow, from the beginning of Ascent to the very end, intensity all throughout. What a hard-fought battle between both teams.
Oh man, yeah, I mean, we saw Core really start to make a bit of a comeback there. The Rainer play from Sim looked good, but Zeldra's always a problem. Zeldra's always a threat over the course of the map here. He goes quiet in those last few rounds, you know what I mean? Really looked like he'd be making that 30 bomb happen, but stumbled towards the end. And TSM found a way back into the game.
A bit of a comeback only? A bit of a comeback? It came down to a 5 HP 1v1 with 7 to allow TSM to win that one. When
Yeah, but
I
also you thought Core would win, so yeah. What do you have to say now, buddy?
Well, that's why it was close. It was a map pool that favored Core until TSM came out with his composition, and that's why they had to hard fight to win this on the 34th round of regulation. It wasn't like an easy fight. It looked like they had some sort of solution here for TSM once they came together with this new composition, and then Core had to start thinking on the fly, though, right?
This is looking like stage 1 Core to me, right? Like the individual, like I don't know. I can't talk about his team without Zeldris being the first player that I want to talk about. Because you're going to get maps like this, I said, but he can play the jet and he can actually, take control. He threatens to run away with the game almost every time. This guy, he's just graduated high school.
Yep.
I mean, I'm terrified for anyone that has to play against him. This TSM boom is like, shoo, we dodged the bullet there, boys. You know what I'm saying? And Proto just grabbing his walking cane, stumbling to the door to relieve himself after, a 3-hour series. Like, damn, that young Zeldris almost got me. Holy.
And a story that continues this way, where you're looking at the first blood opportunities that was in favor of Core. And this doesn't only speak on how Core was playing pretty decently here towards the attack side, but it was also on these defensive rounds where TSM put a lot of faith into Sim's overextension with the Rada to get a 1 dismiss, get a 2 and dismiss, or give them some sort of player advantage in that way. But they were able to read that very well and punish them in these early rounds. So Core did an excellent job, actually, to learn on the fly of how TSM played. It looked very much of how Core played against Dark Zero, and they had to learn and call like some insane stuff from T-Dog to make this very close here, Kick.
Yeah, I mean, to bounce off of that too, Vans, I think T-Dog's calling has just gotten so much better since open quals to now. He has taken his level. I mean, he was already like one of the IGLs in like the amateur scene of Valorant has just been able to upgrade that so much. But when it comes to like really big kind of picture plays, I suppose, like someone like Sim just pushing in every round, something you don't think is going to happen over and over again. It does take a little bit to adapt, especially after a very long series like this. And sometimes, though, you tunnel vision and lose sight of those bigger picture plays.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but at least you had to have some heroic plays, and we saw some value come out of Sim as well as this Reyna pick. You guys mentioned it on the cast. You were saying, hey, we haven't seen this since maybe like Osna in the 100 Thieves era versus M3C, or even most recently in VCTs where Leviathan were using that as well, but also in a Harbor and Viper setting. This time they're using an Omen and Viper setting, which actually still brought some good value here, Uber, because those one-ways that are being thrown by a Proto did give a lot of space opportunities for aggressive pushes on the defense for TSM.
It's not even that as well. On the attacking side, TSM, you know, it's kind of like, remember how G2, when they played the Brim on this map all the time, right?
Yes.
They would not have a Viper even necessary, or like not always use her wall. They would just sky smoke into Snowman.
Yep.
And they would sky smoke into like the top of that B site, and they scale up behind that. TSM had the option to use a Viper wall, and then as that came down, then they Omen smoke over towards Snowman, and they can flash out through that and continue to take that space. So these teams are trying to find ways to work around the limitations of Viper now has, right? That lower duration of that wall, because it's less of a sure thing. It's less of a guaranteed post plant. So the double controller comps might be, you know, more plentiful now, more frequent because of Viper maybe not being so good just on her own there. So it's worth keeping an eye on. But I like TSM's approach on it. So nice to see Omen, you know, featuring a little bit more in Icebox. Don't always get to see it.
Exactly. It's a double controller setup that was a change this time around. They still played a double controller setup for TSM. It's nice for us to try to understand the playstyle and what the approach was here for TSM from our point of view. But it's going to be better if we actually get it from the coach himself. So I'm actually being joined right now by Coach Faded of Team TSM. Faded, what is up, my homie? It has been a very long time since I had a chance to speak with you. Congratulations on the big win. First off, why are you so handsome? What's your routine, your skincare routine here?
You know, my mama set me with a little bit of a skincare routine from Korea, so, you know, got to take care of it as you get older. It's got to make do with what I have.
For sure. Let's talk about this game a little bit, or at least before we get into the game here, Faded, I want to talk about just TSM in general, and you as well, because, you know, if you're new into the challenger scene and you're still looking to find out about you, there's not too much information about you in terms of like past experiences on VLR or like what, and you're a little quiet on Twitter as well, so you're like a man that works behind the scenes. So how did you connect with everybody else from TSM, and how did this come about? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so actually shout outs to one of the homies who was helping out today too as well. Baby Bay, he's a very, very good friend of mine. And you know, last year on FaZe, you know, they had a lot of switch ups, and, you know, the competition was very steep back then. So, you know, it kind of gave me an original opportunity just to kind of help them out. You know, I'm kind of like a person that's like for the boys, you know, I'm really about my friends and my homies. And, you know, I just saw it as an opportunity to really just use some game knowledge and analytical skills to really help them out back then. But I think the work kind of, you know, was a little well used, and it was a little, you know, important for them to be able to, you know, pull out some of those games back then. So I think, you know, the relationship really built with them. You know, Poise is also one member from FaZe from last year. And, you know, I think it just during the off season, you know, it took a long time to really focus on, you know, seeing them get better, right? I think, you know, GMD was also part of that crew with mid-phase, you know, shout outs to Corey and Nature. They were also part of it. But, you know, they gave me a lot of, they taught me a lot. And I think one of the biggest things was, you know, they saw the drive that I have. I think, you know, I like to keep my head down. I don't necessarily care about the public eye as much, in the sense that, you know, I really want my work to show for itself. And, you know, credits to the team. I think this, and I want to give big shout outs to the team. You know, every single one of them, I assigned them homework. They come through heavy with it. And the key thing is, you know, they're very intelligent. And I think, you know, all the players have shown such growth. You know, shout out to Seven. He's put in so much effort. You know, he's always been known for his mechanical prowess, but he really has come in strong in terms of the strategic elements. You know, he's a leader. He's a big voice on the team now, and just seeing, you know, these all the players flourish. You know, like even Sim and himself, he's been very disciplined. He's starting to play, you know, a very smart way of the duelist role, and he's kind of changing his play styles here and there. So very difficult to read sometimes. And I think, you know, it really is the group effort of the team.
Has the improvement of this team, that this night and day improvement from day one, because let's look back at stage one here of TSM, where it wasn't the best start, and it wasn't the best showing here that we had for TSM for the very beginning, because I guess everybody's still trying to find their groove. But we definitely started seeing some improvements a bit during the mid-season cup, where you're able to take a map away from the best teams, but still lose in the process. But there's still some improvements there. What has been some of the biggest pain points, and how did you overcome that as a group to make sure that you have a strong showing here in stage two?
I think the key thing was in the beginning, we had about a week of practice as a team heading into the first split. I think one of the key things was learning each other's tendencies, really understanding each other as, not just players, but also people. I think it's really important that nowadays with teams, you can have the best strategies, you can have the best, everything else in terms of the, the actual game structure, but you don't have the player synergy. That's where it becomes, really, really tough to really make it through. When your back's against the wall, you're relying on one another to really get each other out of it. So I think up until this point, we've done a lot of practice in terms of the game, trying to catch up to a lot of these teams who had a lot more time during the offseason to really prepare. But I think one of the key elements is that every player on my team, they respect each other. They respect me. I'm willing to agree to disagree. They hear me out, and I think we finally got to a point where we're really jiving. We're really kind of in this motion of everyone putting the work in together, everyone just kind of coming together and understanding, respecting, and really making the adjustments. Right? I think it's tough in the beginning when you're dealing with player personalities, but also trying to learn the game strategies and creating strategic elements. But now that everyone is kind of involved, it really helps out with, ownership, right? Every player takes ownership of each strat. They take ownership of the game. They have this never back down mentality. And that's what I really love about them. So
Never give up, never what? No, I'm kidding. I wanted to get into that. But I think that's pretty awesome, though, that you have such a growth and maturity from each one of these players, where now the team bonding and the team synergy is there. But for TSM as a whole and as a team, this was something that I put in my notes, and that's something I even Uber mentioned when we're looking at the map vetoes, where Breeze is out of this map composition, or out of the map pool rather. And I remember we had the conversation, and you're like, hey, Breeze is usually our favorite map. It's something that we love to play. Usually teams will ban it against you, and then you'll have a chance to play Lotus. But now most of the times now Breeze is out, Lotus might be banned, and now you're going into like a bind where we've seen some up and downs, but outside of that is like a question mark if you want to look at it from the outside in. So in your eyes now, if you're pulsing the map pool of TSM, where do you place yourself in terms of that level of comfort with the current map pool and the current patch changes?
I mean, honestly, our team is very confident with, across all the different maps. I think it really isn't really a discomfort with a map versus another map. I think it really is just us playing to our strengths, right? I think we found, good comps. We have a lot of different comps we can run on all these maps. We've been really doing a lot of trial and error, and just making sure that we focus on the fundamental aspects, right? I don't think our team has any, I don't want to give away any secrets or anything like that, but we have, I think, the commitment to learning and being able to grow from, not just staying stagnant with one comp, or not just staying stagnant with a single idea, right? We've been really exploring into understanding different ways to play different comps. I think one key thing, though, is that we're always thinking about the strength of our players when we're playing any of these maps, right? And how to best utilize them. I think every map has many different ways to play it. It just depends on learning about your players and your players learning about each other and really playing to the strengths of those, right? Who knows? We may come up with some funky comps on Haven or other maps, but I think the idea right now is, for us to really, now that we have this synergy, it's just putting ourselves to the best strengths that we have. So I'm gonna be honest, like we're restructuring and doing a lot of things with all the different maps, and I think the idea is for us to just play our strengths and play our best. So.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm going to have to commend you for as well. It's not only on who's comfortable in playing what, but I'm noticing now rather that a lot of these players that you currently have are also comfortable in playing different roles. Just for example, here, this Icebox composition, you now have a Proto playing Omen instead of playing a Viper, and you give it to GMD. Or in other maps where Poise used to play a Sky, it's now going to be Seven's responsibility. So you're definitely seeing a deeper agent pool for each of these players as well, that allows for you to adapt a little bit more with comp changes, meta changes, or just have a strong system in the long run, which I like to see. But let's talk about that in terms of those comp changes, and more specifically on this map of Icebox, right? A map that you only pulled out once here in stage one. It was a double controller with no verticality and no gecko, which I thought was kind of troll. But at least this time around, you went with a double controller with a gecko. But I like the I like the approach that you guys had to that, to play a lot more aggressively. But what I want to focus on and dive in is into the Reyna pick. So Reyna has had a buff that not many people has been talking about, which is the Empress that stays on pretty permanently, and also the overheal. For you guys, in terms of that agent buff, is that more valuable for you than the ISO talk that everybody's talking about now?
I think ISO is insanely strong right now. I'm not gonna lie. I think the really cool part is that I try to give a voice to all my players, right? And we really talk about the strengths and weaknesses behind all the different agents, right? And I think we take a conglomerate of ideas from the players and kind of put it together. I think I'm always trying to play to the strengths of Sim. He when he's confident, when he is playing that role and he's in that mindset, he can pull back from that first kill. He can continue on to get that 3-4, that ace. Like, he is really, really strong when he's comfortable with what he plays. And I think I'm always going to be taking my players' opinions into consideration. Now, with the Reyna buff, I think you saw it. I mean, he was going in, getting frags, getting out, going back in, redoing it every single time.
Yeah.
Like, that's the confidence that I'm trying to instill in him, right? And I think the idea is there's a balance between confidence and the idea of playing discipline. But I always say, if you're gonna go overheat. Like, go get the job done, right? Like, don't have any doubt, like, because the moment you have doubt is the moment that you start playing weak. But just do your thing, right? So that's where the Reyna really stems from. It really comes from a team conversation as well. Seven was a part of that in terms of layering it with the get-go. Poise is really, really good about putting it all together in a macro scale. Every single player has their opinion, and I think like with a Proto, even, right? Like, his use case, like, you guys will be able to see, like, he is strong in many different areas, and being able to pull that out of him, not just that standard Deagle, Senti aspect, like, he has a lot of strong attributes, and being able to try to get him comfortable with it and being able to show it to the audience and to the world, like, that's what I want, right? Like, I want everyone to see not just the one side of each player, like, I want them to see the full element of each player, so.
Which was nice to see, because sometimes when you see Sim, when he was overextending those icebox rounds where he got punished, you were still able to turn around for the rest of the team. So the confidence doesn't only stem for your duelist that's trying to swing out, but for the rest of the team to pull the pants up when you have to play at a disadvantage and make it work. So it has worked today, man. I have to give you a big congratulations to that one. Don't take offense if you're watching the VOD and I'm saying that this was the battle of the mids here, Faded. I think it's more to talk about how you guys are also at that pack where you're able to fight from like that 4 to 8. For you, to ask you that final question, where do you currently see yourself if you're going to have to rank yourself with all the teams that we currently have in Challengers, and where do you think you would end up going into the playoffs?
I mean, I have full confidence in my team. I will never change that mentality. I think, I will always have belief. Like, I have some insane players. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, every single one of them on their own, they are very talented. And just seeing the ability and, like, the drive for them to want to grow more as a player, not just staying stagnant, like, we can be at the top. Like, we can win it all. Like, that's all I'm focused on at the end of the day. And I will always have that mental with my players, because they know I trust them no matter what. Obviously some of the matches we've lost, like, it's tough on us, right? But we always we bounce back, and we always think about what can we do better? What more can we do, right? Like, they never give up. Yeah. So in terms of the way we rank ourselves, like, I'm always going to say my players are at the top. Like, I will never, ever think differently. So,
yeah. I love that, because that also is the mentality for other teams where we've seen upsets for today. For example, SAT Esports defeating MXS today, right? So anything is possible right now going to stage 2. So, Faded, I'm going to let you go and let you celebrate a big win here with the team. Thank you so much for your time to hang out with me and have this post-game interview. Congratulations. Good luck for the rest of the stage, and I hope to see you during the playoffs.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, brother. All right, well, that was it here. Let's bring back our two bozos back to the analyst desk, mainly being Mitch and Keg. Keg's just a wholesome, nice guy. Mitch, douche. How's it going, guys? That was actually a pretty good interview, right?
What a zinger. I didn't see that one coming. Holy. I appreciate the compliment.
Let me just get a bit more comfortable. Sorry, what were you saying, brother? Sorry, I missed that part.
Hold on. I got this.
Nice.
I got pretzels.
Still a wholesome interview though, right? So you're starting to see a lot of confidence as well from Faded with what he has to talk about. Despite highest of highs and lowest of lows, they're still able to maintain and keep that mentality, and that's something that's needed here from this type of leadership, such as Faded or somebody with experience like Poise with these young fraggers, because they're potentially going to take that role later on in a couple of years. The Sims and the Sevens of the world to be the next leaders and the veterans.
And it's just a special chance, I think, to hear from Fader, because like he kind of said, he's not like the kind of coach that really wants to be perceived. He's not like, you know, out on social media, but you know, it's clear to see the passion, but also like, it's not just waffle. I have heard coaches just sit there and just throw out buzzwords and stuff, but like, it's it's great for the TSM org. And it's also great for this young team that someone like Fader is like so dialed in, is really interested in like shoring up their fundamentals, creating a great environment for them, really believes in them. Like, this is such a good sign for a team that is ostensibly at some point aiming for Ascension and beyond. So they're in good shape. And I don't know, it's a great interview, Vance. Yeah, it was really good to hear from Faded, I think, and what's going on in the engine room for those guys.
Especially when it's such a big organization, right? And they had some big coaches come through, and for him to step up and do that and talk that way, it shows to a lot of that leadership that you have within TSM. But that said, though, this is what we had so far here for these games from yesterday to today. Keg, anything that really stepped out, that really pops out to your mind? I think it's obvious here, this sad esports upset against MXS today.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth, Vance. I think sad 2-0 versus Moist is spelling dividends about how much these teams that have upgraded over from the first split into today. I'm really excited to see TSM take this win, move on forwards, especially after the interview we had from Faded to show, the inner mechanisms of what goes on behind the scenes. The way things are going right now, playoffs are going to be probably one of the most intense playoffs we've ever seen in North America.
Yeah, pretty awesome to see how that's going to pan out. And then coming up tomorrow as well, we still have one more day of matches to go, actually, throughout this week. I think we're week number 3 already in this stage. Or week 4. Yeah, dude, we're flying by so far in the stage. But we have Blinn versus Dark Zero and YFP versus Dobros. Anything that you want to keep an eye on here looking at the schedule for tomorrow, Uber?
I think like Blinn are the real deal. Kind of crazy, right? Team that comes up out of sort of our promotion midway through the season, with great results. I mean, they 2-0'd M80, right? That's something I sort of keep coming back to. They did lose to TSM. So I think this is a real chance to find out whether Group A is just a little bit shallow or they are the real deal, because Dark Zero, of course, have only dropped 2 maps over their 3 wins and looking really, really good. And Dobros have, I can't believe I'm saying this, they have impressed me somewhat, I think, here. This YFP Dobros game,
it's gotta be good.
This YFP are, are 2-1. Like, they are no slouches. I think, they've beaten Winthrop and Sad. All right.
Yeah.
They lost to Turtle Troop. So we are win week 4, Vans, and I still don't know what to make of that team. So they dodged relegation. They look like they're going to avoid it entirely this time around at this rate. So hopefully they can keep it up.
I think that's why it's rude when I'm calling it the battle of the mids bits, because we just never know which type of team is going to show up here for. Can you
just own your trash talk once in your life? Can you just like not apologize for something you say just one time? Holy crap, Vance, just once, bro.
I'll just say here, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for today. Mitch is a douche, and we'll catch you tomorrow at the same time for day 3 of week 4 of stage 2 of Challengers. Peace. That word doesn't mean anything.
One enemy remaining. Use that. One enemy remaining.